Hey guys, so because I'm reviewing Star Trek Into Darkness, I thought this poster would be a bit ironic. You know what I mean? Because it's Star Wars, you know? And I'm reviewing Star Trek, and they're different. Sorry for that intro, guys. That probably offended a lot of Star Trek fans. But let's talk about J.J. Abrams' second installment of the newest Star Trek franchise, Star Trek Into Darkness. Now let me just point out that I had just seen the first Star Trek movie that J.J. Abrams brought to the table in 2009 for the first time this afternoon. With all the hype around Star Trek this week, I couldn't resist. And the movie was simply a thrill ride to my film senses. Abrams put such a modernized style to the first movie that's appropriate for our generation and that actually made Star Trek kinda cool. So with Star Trek running through my veins, I just needed to see Star Trek Into Darkness ASAP. So, only 2 hours later, I'm in the theater at the 4:30 matinee, and now here I am to talk about it with you guys. So you're probably wondering if Star Trek Into Darkness lives up to his predecessor, and I'll just answer you with one gesture. Star Trek Into Darkness is just as good, if not better, than the first. It is a summer blockbuster at its finest. Though equipped with style, substance, and emotion, it is energized to its core, but not in the sense that it gets exhausting, but engrossing and exciting and fueling. Your adrenaline is steaming from frame one to the end. The simplest plot I can give from this movie is this. Captain Kirk and Spock, along with the rest of the crew of the USS Enterprise, go on yet another adventure to capture an evil traitor who hides on the planet Kronos and bring him to judgment. But as always, things don't go as planned. The movie stars Chris Pine, Zachary Quinto, Zoe Saldana, Benedict Cumberbatch, Carl Urban, Simon Pegg, and Bruce Greenwood. All are stellar in their performances. The chemistry between Chris Pine as Kirk and Zachary Quinto as Spock is brilliant and kind of hilarious. That's another thing about this movie, is that it's legitimately funny. But someone who definitely deserves just as much recognition is Benedict Cumberbatch, who plays the movie's leading villain, Khan. Hopefully I didn't make anyone angry by saying the character that Cumberbatch plays. If I did, you have my full permission to punch your computer screen where my face is. He plays his role so menacing and unpredictable, persuasive and even invincible. That's the vibe you get from him. There's a part in this movie, which I will not spoil for you guys, where Khan does something to Peter Sellers' character, Marcus, who is somewhat of a backseat villain in this movie, where it just made my jaw drop to the floor. I'm like, you do not really want to piss off this Khan guy. He did a fantastic job in this role. Everyone did so great in this movie. Like they always say, something is just as strong as its weakest link. And honestly, I believe this movie doesn't really have one. It's paced perfectly and completely unpredictable. I was always at the edge of my seat wondering what was gonna happen next. Maybe Star Trek fans knew the twists and turns, but for me, this movie never ceased to surprise me. Never once did I check my watch. The visual effects in this movie are top notch, along with the cinematography which kept this movie alive the whole way through. This movie does shaky cam the right way, in that it's not distracting, but adds style to the movie. This movie is always moving in the sense that there's not one dull shot. In some cases, that could be really distracting for viewers, but in this case, it's exciting. The way the film's action scenes were filmed and choreographed were so entertaining to watch. There's an action scene towards the end of the movie that reminded me so much of the hallway scene from Inception. If you've seen the movie, you know what I'm talking about. I was invested in this movie the whole time, to a point where I wouldn't be surprised if I forgot to blink. But you feel for the characters, they aren't two-dimensional. The key word is depth, and every single character in this movie gets their fair share of it. Now, because I'm not a die-hard Star Trek fan, I don't know how loyal Abrams' movies have been to the source material. But from what I've heard from other reviewers, they've said that they've been pretty loyal. I know that they made a couple of changes in Star Trek Into Darkness from Star Trek II Wrath of Khan, but Star Trek fans didn't seem angry or offended by it at all. This movie only makes me 1 billion times more excited to see what J.J. Abrams is going to do to the Star Wars reboot in 2015. As a sequel and as a movie in itself, Star Trek Into Darkness is close to perfection, which means I'm going to give Star Trek Into Darkness a 9.3. If you guys have any comments or suggestions, please put them down in the comment box below and click the subscribe button. So anyway guys, thanks for watching this review and I'll see you next time.